Whether they're a contractor or they're a full-time employee, that's a really hard conversation. It's a really hard conversation to have. But if they're not productive, they're not operating at your standard, and definitely if they are a seed of toxicity on your team as a contractor, as an associate, or as anybody else, it's time to invite them to move into an environment where maybe they'll be a little bit happier. This is the truest thing ever. There's days where I feel like I'm just doing stuff and filling in time. So I think that there's a few pieces that we need to unpack here, and there's a few different reasons why people actually get stuck doing stuff, not deploying strategy. And I'm saying this really slowly because it's a lot of S's. But the first thing that everyone needs to recognize is a lot of times we get stuck doing stuff when we're trying to avoid doing the hard work. So before we even get into the strategy, I would just encourage you to stop for one quick second and just let me know, like, where do you have resistance in your business? Where are you like, I don't like looking at the numbers, or I don't like, is your stuff actually a procrastination tool from delving into the strategy you need to look at? Number two, we need to actually have clarity around where we want to go. Like, where do you want to go? Are we building this towards having $250,000 a year in revenue? Do you want $40,000 a month in terms of income coming into you? So the clarity of what we're doing revenue-wise, because it is a business, but revenue-wise is one of the key things that we need to start to look at for you. And then we break it down. Once we have this high level clarity, then we really start to come in and we look at, in our business, sort of 9 key project areas in a business. Those 9 key areas are sort of in 3 different buckets. We have one related to your methodology and your systems and your offers. So if you're only selling your time at this point for money, then we probably need to solidify an offer. The second category we need to look at is marketing. So do you actually have a flow of people coming into your business? If it's like hope and pray is my strategy, and yet somehow I'm really busy all the time filling in my email, then a strategy related to marketing is where we need to look next. And then if your challenge is, you're like, listen, I actually have lots of patients coming in and I know exactly what methodology I'm deploying, then likely where our bottleneck is in your business is related to operations. This is where we need to bring someone else in to actually take over the stuff that you don't need to be doing, so that you are doing the things that only you can do. And likely in a business, the 2 areas where only you can do things is going to be the actual delivery of care if you're still seeing patients, and it is going to be the strategic piece related to the setting the strategy in your business, and potentially the marketing. But those are the only areas that you need to touch. Everything else needs to be handed off to somebody else. So stuff, when we're stuck doing stuff over and over again, typically we got to triage really quickly whether or not it is actually procrastination keeping you away from the things you don't want to do. The stuck in your business, not on your business. This is great. And everyone's going to go through this, and you're going to fix it. And then you're going to hit what's called a new ceiling of complexity, as Dan Sullivan would say, and you're going to get there again. So when you're stuck in the business, here's the first place that I'm going to recommend you start is we've got to triage out what the heck you are doing that you shouldn't be. And I've been there. I remember this so clearly. I've shared this story before where I was sitting in my office. It was like 11 o'clock at night because I had this rule. I can't go home until I'm done all of my patient files. And I just stopped and I went, this is ridiculous. Like, this is not the lifestyle I want to be living. And it's not what I tell my patients to do. And so I hit print on a diet diary and I grabbed it and I started to write down in a week everything I did. And everything from like emptying the dishwasher to doing the laundry to ironing stuff to dropping things off to doing patient charts to like answering emails, all of it. And then I sat with 2 markers. I sat with a pink one where I highlighted the things only I could do, like, and not, oh, no one can do it as good as me version of you, but like the things only I could do. Maybe my license meant I could only see patients. There were very few things that only I could do, or things that were so important to me, like walking my kids to school, that I wasn't going to outsource that to anybody else. And the deal I made myself when I was sitting there at 11 o'clock at night is that if I hit 12 hours of time in my week where I was doing things I didn't need to do, I was going to hire someone else to come in. This was going to be my first big hire because I was like, I'm doing all the things. And when I counted up the hours, that first time I did this exercise, I realized I was spending 28 hours a week on work somebody else would be capable of doing. So step 1, when you are stuck in your business, is you have to triage what stuff could you hand off and what things do you truly need to hang on to. Now, there is a time and place where you're going to want to step into some projects and you're going to have to clear out other things. But usually when we get stuck in our business, we don't know who to hire next. We don't know how to hire next, or we're not good at delegating to other people, often because we believe no one can do it as well as us. So I want you to put yourself into the mindset of the future you who's going to be running a bigger business, a more delegated business, a more leveraged business. What kind of decision would he or she be making, and what kind of advice would he or she be giving you in this particular moment about how you free yourself up? I would really lean in to where your gut tells you you're spending a little bit too much time. Question where AI could create more efficiency, but mostly I'd start to create the job description for the person who's going to handle all the things you know you shouldn't be doing. Okay, this is a great question. Why are people not paying attention to what it is that you have to say? So this is a really easy question when I'm not answering it to one person in particular. I get this like anonymous Q&A because then I can give you a really honest answer. So the first reason people are going to tune out is because you're boring. Because you're not drawing them in. You're not making it compelling. You're not like physiologically engaged. So information is a dime a dozen. If we're going to keep people engaged, we need to combine it with stories. We need to make it relevant to them. We need to not walk out on stage and thank them for having you and then immediately start into the science of what it is that you're doing. We need to walk out on stage and share the story of the person just like them, who is in the same place as them. And we need to start to paint a picture of how they started here and they got to here. We need to talk about the reasons why, or the things that people believe that are holding them back from their health. If we're doing a talk on heart disease, we need to look at the whole room and be like, some of you were told that aspirin a day is going to save your life, and you were grossly misled. We need to engage their physiology. We need to be willing to step outside our comfort zone, and we need to be willing to say things that are a color other than vanilla. So if you're finding that when you do give presentations, when you're delivering content, one, we got to make sure your content is juicy. Two, we need to make sure it's all about your audience. Three, this is not an opportunity to prove how smart you are. This is an opportunity to engage your audience. And then number four, consider joining a group like Toastmasters or getting a speaking coach, because your ability to communicate in a dynamic way is going to be one of those. Soft skills isn't even the right word, but it's one of those skills that is only ever going to augment your career and your ability to draw people to the work that you do. So having confidence as a speaker would be an area of investment in your own confidence and in your own business that I don't think you'll ever regret. Launching a program is a great plan, and the nuanced question here around when is the best time to launch a program is an excellent stream of thinking. So I'll tell you the times that are not great to launch a program, and that is when people have other focuses in their life. So if we start really high level, the traditional summer months, not a great time to launch. People aren't paying attention. The other instance where it's not a great time to launch a program would be over the holiday period, if people are celebrating Christmas, New Year's, those types of holidays where they are wanting to be indulgent, they're focused on family, they're not paying attention to their inbox. There are times, depending on the program that you are going to launch, where people are attuned to their health or they're attuned to making lifestyle changes. So the front of the year is a time and place where you're going to have a captive audience looking for solutions. So, let's start by like blocking out the time of the year where people are not wanting to engage or purchase a program. And then let's actually start to look at the nuance of your particular clientele. Are you working with seniors who don't necessarily follow the same rhythm of June busyness or September busyness? Are you dealing with, or are you releasing a program related to a condition that has some sort of seasonal ebb and flow? So the more you understand your audience and you've blocked out some of those times that won't work, the easier it is to pick a date. The biggest mistake that I see people make is that they don't leave enough time. They don't leave enough time to warm their audience up. They don't to seed the program and that it will be coming. It's just all of a sudden making an announcement. So set a date that you know will work for your avatar. Keep it away from those big lull points in the calendar year, and then make sure you have enough planning time and pre-seeding time before it releases, usually about 4 to 6 weeks, so that you have an audience that is deeply curious about what you're about to do. You have a contractor who's draining your team and not helping you earn more money. That's it. They're ready. You got to let them go. So one of the things we do is we hang on to people far too long because we're hoping they get better. We're hoping we can motivate them differently. We're hoping we can get them up to our standard, because what we really don't want to do is have the horrendously awkward conversation that we are going to have to let someone go, whether they're a contractor, they're a full-time employee. That's a really hard conversation. It's a really hard conversation to have. But if they're not productive, they're not operating at your standard, and definitely if they are a seed of toxicity on your team as a contractor, as an associate, or as anybody else, it's time to invite them to move into an environment where maybe they'll be a little bit happier.